Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today I'm talking to a guy I haven't talked to in a couple of years. I'm psyched. He's one of my favorite people in the industry, in the world. Talking about Evan Centopani. How are you, Evan?
What's going on, Ron? I appreciate the kind welcome. That was very nice. Nice to be here. Nice to talk, dude. It's been a while. We used to talk on a monthly basis, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be this magazine called MD. It was around for a long time. It's nothing lasts forever, man. Nothing lasts forever.
And if you don't know what a magazine is, Google it.
Exactly. Kids out there, Gen Z kids, like, magazine, huh? Is that the thing you put in a gun? But,
exactly.
So, man, since we last talked, a lot's happened, but more recently, we have something in common. I tore my quad for the first time last August 30th. You had already done that before, but you had to do it again because it was so fun the first time. When did you tear your quad the first time? It was the same leg or a different leg?
Different leg. I believe it was 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, beginning of 2017. You know what's weird? I did it 7 years later, almost to the day. It was like a week apart.
And was it so? When did this one happen?
So this one happened January 20th or something like that.
Okay.
And dude, I mean, listen, for anybody who's never had it happen to them, lucky you. Hopefully it stays that way because, listen, no injury is fun. Even minor ones. You could hurt your thumb and be quickly reminded of how much you use your thumb and how much of an inconvenience it is to be injured. But especially when it's something major that affects your mobility, guys, you don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah. So the first time was a slip and fall outside your house, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't the fall, but it was. I began to slip on ice, and it's a funny scenario where your feet begin to go out from under you, and your quad is like very much unloaded. And in an attempt to regain your balance, you instantly, contract your quad muscle, and it's enough to just rip it right off. Tear it in half, rip it off the kneecap.
I explained that to people. I said, so many times I had slipped and not fallen, like on the snow, and it for me it was always the same leg, the right leg. So I'm sure that tendon was just getting beat to shit. It's because I don't want to blame my dog, but my dog is at the core of all this. He's an 80-pound pit bull that we didn't train properly, so he pulls. So the last straw was for me, and this probably happened to you, when you slip and you catch all your weight on it. And, and I don't know math. I'm not a physicist. You're probably better at this than me. But if you're a 260-pound guy, 230-pound guy like you, all your weight's coming, the velocity and all that shit together, it's probably thousands and thousands of torque on that one little. It's not a little tendon, but it can only take so much.
Well, yeah, and this is I guess kind of interestingly, it brings into play the fact that if you read, people will say, oh, well, the use of anabolic steroids or the use of steroids, right? The generic term steroids increases the risk of tendon injury or tendon rupture, which in the case of catabolic steroids like cortisone, things like that, they do directly weaken tendons. That's a fact. But when it comes to something like anabolic steroids, let's do the math. If you're a 150-pound guy with not overly developed muscles, and you begin to slip and you try to regain yourself, your quad muscle contracting to regain yourself, it's not generating that kind of force. The bigger you are, the stronger you are, the more developed that muscle. In an instant like that, that muscle is going to contract with such force that I would imagine the risk of injury is much greater.
Well, I mean, it's another thing that I bring up because when the tendons do not have the capacity to develop and strengthen and thicken the way that the muscles do. So your tendon, I think that's why so many bench press pec tears happen. You have the same tendon here that you had when you were 150 pounds and could bench 100 pounds as you did when it's not that much bigger or stronger. And now you're 250 pounds and you're benching 500 pounds. That tendon is working hard. But enough about that. How did the second one happen? The same thing? I slipped?
No. So my dad was over. He needed a haircut. So I was going down my basement to give him a haircut. And I reached up. There's a light bulb at the bottom of the steps that I wasn't screwed in, but I wanted to screw it in just to make sure he could see exactly where he was going. And I don't remember, in that moment, when I reached, was I balanced funny? Did I begin to slip? It happened so quickly. I don't even remember, but as soon as it happened, I was able to grab the railing and, stop myself from falling. But I knew right away what had happened. And the pain is one thing, but it was like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? Because everything that's ahead of you, having gone through it already.
Shit.
And it is miserable. It really, truly is.
Yeah. So which one tore this time? Which leg?
So this time it was my right leg.
So I'm curious because I've only torn my right. I'm not a two-legger like you. So my big deal was I couldn't drive for almost 4 months. I had to have my son drive me around, and I was, with the immobilizer on, straight out in front of me. But I always said, man, if this had been my left leg, I bet I could have still driven. Just put the seat way back, and I'd still be able to use it. Were you able to drive when you had your left quad torn?
It was hard for me to remember. I feel like this time around, even despite the fact that it was my right leg, I was doing everything sooner. I just had a much better recovery. And I'm still in the midst of that recovery, of course. But in terms of just getting to the point where I could just walk normally, and just do all normal everyday activities, I was so much faster getting back this time. I believe the quality of the surgery was better. A good buddy of mine, you guys might know Ron Norman. He's Ron.
Yeah, of course.
Great guy. He's been one of my closer friends for years now. And Ron's had a lot of injuries, and he recommended this surgeon in Long Island. And Ron's the kind of guy where if he makes a recommendation, you can trust it because he digs very deep into things. So he said it, and I said, okay, let me go see this guy. We scheduled the surgery, and I'm going to tell you right now, within 3 days post-op, I had no need for any type of, painkiller, Advil, anything like that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And, look, I mean, the knee still hurts, going up and down stairs, it hurts. It's not 100%.
Yeah.
But it's been a much, much better recovery. And, in the use now too, peptides and things of that nature, I think it's all played into a better recovery.
See, I used the BPC 157 for about 6 months. Yep. I don't know because I don't have the experience of not using it and then using it, so I don't know if it helped me heal any quicker. And I looked into it, and there's never been any human trials with that peptide. So it's all sort of anecdotal evidence. But are you fairly certain that it did good things for you?
Unless it's coincidence. So I've used both BPC 157 and TB 500 prior to the injury, over the years, and I have experienced relief from it. So I do have reason to believe that it helped to expedite the process. So I was already using it, I had it on hand and started it even before surgery. Look, for me to not need any type of pain medication within 3 days, that was like unbelievable. Wow. Compared to last time. And I was using Advil, I think, for months.
Oof. 3 days after my surgery, I was calling up and saying, these 20 milligram oxys aren't working. I need 40s. Let's go. But tell me, so when you tore the left quad years ago, did it ever come back to full size, full strength? Was it as good as before at ever?
So it took me a long time. I mean, I remember being a year post-op and having like no weight on the leg extension and trying to do single leg, and it hurting like hell. A lot of sharp pain. It was really rough, and the leg was very atrophied. It took a while, but I think it was about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years post-op. I kind of hit a stride, and at one point, so my left was always the bigger leg.
Okay.
And it reached a point where it was at least as good as my right leg. Wow. It was for a period of time starting to feel like the stronger leg. Like I would prefer to lead with that leg. But then it started to, and I don't know why or when, but it started to regress. So no, for them, and I don't want to doom anybody, but a lot of times, look, you're being put back together differently than you were initially, and you're never the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I'm not going to speak ill of my doctor. I think he's a very good surgeon. Other people were recommending, like this guy operates on these athletes, and they wanted to go to Florida, go here. I'm like, dude, I can't even get on a plane. How am I supposed to go to Maryland or freaking Florida to get my quad operated? No, this is going to work. So that being said, I don't think the tendon is back where it originally was. I can tell the knee doesn't move exactly the same. I have to change like foot. I've started leg training a couple months. It's been a while, but I found like I couldn't put my feet where I used to. It hurts in the same position. I have to find different places on the platforms, angle the foot a little differently. So yeah, you're not, it's like, that's why people don't like used cars that have been in accidents. They put it back together again. They replace the parts, but it's really never quite the same as it was.
You're 100% right. And the one thing I could tell you, hopefully you find it a little encouraging, is that you're not anywhere close to fully healed.
Yeah.
I know it's so many months after they tell you, oh, well, yeah, you're fully healed now. You're not. It's going to continue to change year and a half. It takes a long time.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not crying about it. That's all I ever had was these big legs, strong legs. That's all people talked about. I had that for years and decades. So am I going to be greedy and say, I'm 54. How old am I supposed to be to still have big squatting 500? No, come on, dude. I had my time. Let's shift gears. I want to talk about politics. So when I saw your original post last, I think you didn't start posting about it till like October of last year, a month before the election.
Right.
So you decided to run for Trumbull, Connecticut Town Council, District 7. And honestly, I wasn't that surprised because it was like 12 or 14. It was a long time ago when I spent a couple of days with you like a real journalist would to do a story for MD, driving around. You didn't talk about bodybuilding. You were talking about the community. You were talking about the economy of like Bridgeport, and manufacturing had left the city, and things that had nothing to do with meathead shit. So when I saw that, I wasn't overly shocked. But how long had you been thinking about trying out the political arena or seeing, making a difference in your town?
I think like a lot of people, you take note of issues you see, and I think we all reach a point where we see other people completing certain tasks, and we wonder, could I maybe do a better job? Should I take a crack at it? I mean, that's how bodybuilding started for me. You're sitting in the audience and you say, I don't know, I think I can do that. And a good friend of mine, he's fairly involved in the town. And he said, come on, man, you got to do it. So I did. In hindsight, it was a big learning process, seeing the way the whole process took place. Listen, as a bodybuilder, and you know this, Ron, if you're going to compete in a year, you start training for that show a year out. You got your off season, you've got your pre-contest, and, bodybuilders are fairly methodical. And the one thing I noticed is when we got together as a party, this was only like a couple months prior to the election. It's like, okay, let's start, getting a thing together. And it's like, why are we just doing this now? So I couldn't help but feel a little bit behind the 8 ball. And, everybody kind of having this strategy like, hey, let's go out and knock on doors, which I did a lot of. But in modern day and age, with social media being what it is, and the fact that people don't really want to answer their doors.
They pull their shades down.
I couldn't help but feel like this is a little antiquated. Maybe there's a better way we could be doing this. And had I started strategizing a year in advance, maybe I could have had a little bit of a better outcome. But it's tough for me too, because never wanting to get really political on any of my social media, still maintaining certain relationships in the industry. And I'm very conscious of the fact that my fans and the majority of people who follow me do so because I'm Evan the bodybuilder. So, I don't want to ever start putting too much other stuff on them or in their face. Yeah. So it's a fine line,
Did you put out a bunch of signs? Did you put the lawn signs out?
Yeah.
I mean, did you have enough? Because honestly, I don't follow politics. I vote in the town elections, and if sometimes I just recognize a name, I go, "Oh, that sounds familiar," and I'll pencil that in. I have no idea who they are, what they stand for, but I saw Williams all over everybody's lawn. So, did you feel like you had enough coverage with the lawn signs?
Yeah, there was a lot of that, but the election definitely seemed to go along party lines. So, I think a lot of people tended to just vote a certain way. And I would consider it again.
Okay.
Maybe at a time when there's more time in my life and I can be more immersed in it and more vocal about it. Because you don't ever want to do something and feel like you kind of half-assed it, or yeah, I don't know.
Do you think there was like a bias? I mean, when I saw that picture of you at the sign, the very first thing you posted was a picture that said Centopani and you're running, the other guy you were running with, and you were sitting there and you were looking just jacked. I was like, oh, I hope the people don't see that picture, because there is a negative bias. People see a big guy and they're like, big, dumb, mean juice head. They're gonna think the wrong thing. So, do you think the people in town, the voters, do you think they knew who you were? I mean, you've been there your whole life, or most of your life.
Yeah.
So, do you think it helped hurt you, or not, or neither?
It's tough to say. I think if it was a town-wide election, meaning, because I was only running within my district, right? Okay. And if there's 7 districts in the town, if it was a town-wide position, I think I probably, not to sound cocky or arrogant, but probably whatever it was I happened to be running for, unless it was against an incumbent who was extremely popular or, exceptionally qualified, I think I probably would have had a better chance based on name recognition and enough people knowing me over the years, or people I graduated school with, or who just know me through different parts, activities in the town. But it was a small part of the population, and this particular, the section of town in which I live and district that I was running for does tend to vote a certain way. So it was a little bit stacked against you from the beginning.
Okay. What party were you running for, and what party got reelected or elected?
So I was running on the Republican ticket, and we've had a Republican first selectman over the years, but at present is a Democrat first select woman who's been in there. I believe this is her maybe 4th term. Okay. So 6-7 years, something like that.
Like that. Is it Maxine Waters out in LA? She's been in term for like 60 years or something. She's in the LA City Council. Anyway.
Yeah.
Man. All right.
And, local politics, of course, a little bit different compared to national politics. It's, you're not discussing, these polarizing, subjects like abortion and things like that. It's more about who's going to pave the roads and, things like that. But people still tend to vote along party lines just as well.
Was there any one thing in the town or one issue that you were sort of felt strongly about, like, I hope I get elected so I can influence this or get this done?
Yeah, so for me, look, I feel very fortunate to live in the town that I live. It's a really nice town located within Fairfield County, Connecticut. And one thing the town always did a great job of over the years is maintaining a good balance between residential and commercial presence, and not overdeveloping the town. And as of late, it seems like, there's become a bit of an imbalance where these apartment complexes and things like that. And quite frankly, like I'm somebody, I have 2 daughters in the public schools, and the schools are overcrowded. And, proponents of these complexes and these apartments will say, oh, well, the people living there, they don't have kids. And but that's number one, it's not true. I just don't think the town is really equipped for it. And there's a lot of commercial real estate in the town where nothing has been done with it. I don't know. It just seems like there's a bit of an imbalance, and kind of wanting to make sure that the character of the town remains preserved and that we don't go in and ruin it like I've seen with some other towns.
I'm curious, are you like the most famous person in Trumbull, or do you have any celebrities there living there?
I think Tony Horton, the P90X guy, was from Trumbull. Yeah.
P90X. Wow. That's a blast from pass.
Otherwise, I'm not too sure.
Okay. I mean, my town, I grew up in the guy that played Big Bird on Sesame Street. That was our biggest celebrity, I think.
Oh, no kidding.
And F. Lee Bailey, the lawyer, had lived there when he was younger.
Oh, yeah. People always know Trumbull. Like, you guys won the Little League World Series in 1989, which that was like the big claim to fame.
Oh, man. I did not know that. Next thing I want to talk about, you have a sick home gym that you made. You did everything for that gym. You're quite the tradesman. I don't know if people realize this. Your dad was a master machinist. I'm glad your dad Victor's still still among us, man. He was battling cancer like almost 15 years ago when we were talking.
Yeah, so 3 months after my oldest daughter was born, he was diagnosed, and he went through hell with it. 6 years he spent, had a lung removed, had a sternotomy to remove tumors in his chest, removed a carotid artery, multiple rounds of chemo, radiation, experimental treatment up in Canada, all to reach a point where the doctor said, there's nothing more we can do. And just basically try to stay comfortable until you die. And he got accepted into a trial at Rutgers University for an immunotherapy treatment, despite his doctor telling him it was a waste of time, and only to have it be the one thing that worked. So thank God. And yeah, it's great that he's still here.
So that's where you must got your foundation. I feel like you could build a house from the ground up if you had to. I've seen you do all kinds of projects, like building things, rooms and decks and all kinds. You had a bulldozer going a couple weeks ago. I don't know what you were doing there, but your home gym, you made that thing, the whole thing yourself, and it looks. You gave it a real retro, old school look with the wood paneling. It looks like one of those old animal ads, honestly. And,
yeah.
Just I'm curious how you got everything there that you need. It looks like from it's hard to see because you don't always show the whole. You show bits and pieces in the video at times, so it's hard to get a scope. But do you train there exclusively now, or do you still go back to the Powerhouse?
Yeah. So look, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss Powerhouse. Or, yeah, or the people there. But I'm just so damn busy, and it got to the point where I'm able to get up early, get my workout in, and get to the office. And the times where I do go to the gym, because I don't go regularly, I'll see people I haven't seen. I end up in conversation for a long time, and by the time I leave, I've been there for 3 hours, and I go, I'm never going back.
No, that is true.
And it's not. I blame myself. I love to talk, and when I see people I haven't seen, of course, I want to spend some time with them.
Sure.
But I was lucky. It just happened to come together. Animal, who amazingly we continue our relationship, which is we're
17 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Who does that?
I think we're actually in year 18 at the moment.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Which has to be an industry.
That's a record. That's a record. I know it is. Yeah.
And I'm really, really proud of that relationship. But years ago, they said, hey, do you have any equipment at home? And I said, I don't. They said, if you were to put something in your basement, they were thinking more just for filming purposes. This is so long ago that social media was just starting to become more of a thing. And they said, look, if we bought a rack or something, would you film yourself regularly? And I said, yeah, I would, but I'll do you one better. Why don't we make a rack? And it could kind of be a story. It'll be cool. It'll be fun. And so they loved that, and that's exactly what we did. We kind of, we split the bill on it and made the rack. And then once the rack was made, it's like, well, we got to have other stuff to go with this. So I started putting together, what I considered to be the fundamentals of a home gym.
Yeah, I remember you posting every once in a while. Every time you got a new piece of equipment, or you'd let us know, and I could see the whole thing coming together. It was pretty cool. Like you'd have like a hack squat next to like your freezer downstairs, and I could see it was slowly becoming a gym and less of a basement with a couple weight training pieces in it.
Yeah, and look, I'm in a very limited size area, but I'm still able to get it all done. But I'll tell you, if I had a bigger space, whatever size that space was, whether it was 1,000 square feet or 5,000 square feet, I would just keep filling it to fit the space. Because I love equipment. I come across it regularly, and it's very, very hard to say no, especially, the kind of stuff that I like from the 80s and the 90s, and, whether it's Body Masters or Flex or Icarian or Nebula, it's all stuff that they're not producing any more of it, and it becomes more and more rare, and I can't help but believe it's going to be worth more and more money as time goes on.
You actually bought one of the old Nautilus pullover machines, and you had it. You didn't have your home gym then. You kept that at Montanari Brothers. Is that still over there?
Yeah, it's still there. That was the first generation pullover, the good one, the best one that
Mm.
Nautilus ever produced. Um, and I had come across it. And I wanted one, but I had no place to put it. And I said, guys, you mind if I throw that in there? And the guy I bought it from, he let me borrow his van. It was a Sunday afternoon. I took the whole machine apart, loaded it in the van, and then dragged it into the gym and put it all together on a Sunday afternoon. Nobody was there at the gym. And yeah, it still resides there.
Okay. Because I mean, you look like you're keeping good size. You're healthy. I remember you walking around 280 years ago when you were competing.
Yeah.
You keep about 260 now, it looks like?
Yeah, I'm about 255. If it wasn't for the injury, I'd probably be in the low 260s.
Yeah.
But at this weight, I feel very comfortable. My blood work is really good. I sleep good. Don't have any issues with sleep apnea anymore.
Mm.
And yeah, this is a very comfortable weight for me. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't still a little bit of ego kicking around. It's hard to go from being a world-class bodybuilder to not being one.
Well, you're still, I mean, the thing is, you were never going to be a small guy. Your downsized version is still 10 times bigger than the average meathead in the gym. Those arms they're not going anywhere, dude. They're never going away.
And as time goes on, it becomes, I'm sure I'll always work out. I'm sure I'll always bodybuild. It just becomes less important to me.
Do you still eat 5-6 meals a day?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm at work and
oh, there we go. There you go. Okay.
I keep my cool. I mean, that's just like it's just become habit at this point. It's ingrained in me. I don't know what else I would do. Bring a sandwich.
Yeah. So now I finally get to ask work. I want to say financial planner, but what is it you're doing these days?
Yeah. So a financial advisor, work more in a planning capacity. I work with a team of guys. There's 6 of us. We're in Southbury, Connecticut. We have 3 staff members. And yeah, we do a lot of financial planning. So, in this particular space, there's usually people who handle investments, and then there's people who sell insurance.
Yeah.
We do both. We do it more. Kind of the best analogy I could give, especially being the meathead that I am, is, it's like in the fitness industry, you've got personal trainers, you've got people who handle nutrition, but then there's like coaches who kind of pull it all together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of more what we do, and work with people over an extended period of time to help them implement that plan and, make sure that it happens, that they're successful in achieving their goals. So yeah, years ago, I went and I got my Series 7 and all that, my insurance licenses. So
I mean,
yeah.
before you were a pro bodybuilder, you were an insurance adjuster. You've been in that world for quite a long time.
I was a title searcher, so or title abstractor.
Okay.
But yeah, kind of different line, but yeah, like my good friend who served as my advisor for the last 20 or so years. He's been telling me for the longest time, when you're done with bodybuilding, come work with us. It'll be fun. You'll like it. And I've been lucky to do really well with it. And it's cool because there's a lot of people from the industry that I've been able to work with and help. And, that makes it more fun. So it's been good. I enjoy it.
You're actually, you deal with like retirement plans and things like that, right? Like 401ks and IRAs and all that. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So it could be solving for a simple insurance need. It could be solving retirement needs. But really just kind of, again, as having a few financial planners on the team, they're so versed in, the different aspects of planning, whether it's tax planning. So I've been able to learn a lot. And the thing you come to realize is there's so much more. It's like, just to give you an example, if you talk to people, they'll go, well, I've got my 401k at work. Yeah. Basically as if to say, well, I'm all set.
Yeah.
That's akin to somebody saying, well, I do squats in the gym. It's like, cool. Like you do a thing. It's a good thing. You do a thing. It's a good thing, but there's probably some other things you should do to complement that, to increase your chances for success. And that's kind of what we help people with.
Right on. I mean,
basically having a plan, not just doing one thing, but having a plan.
I mean, it's a very important job that you do there, because I know, my wife and I, we've saved for retirement. We're going to be okay. I have a sibling that I won't say, male or female. I don't want to call them out or anything, but nothing saved for retirement. Nothing. This poor guy is going to have to work till he freaking dies, I think. And it's,
yeah, there's a lot of statistics I could share. I don't want to bore anybody, but I think a lot of people are just under this impression, well, yeah, I'll retire someday and I'm going to enjoy my retirement. But when you look at where they are, I said, well, you're not, you're not on track to do that. It's not going to just happen magically. So yeah, it's one of those things that's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not something people want to talk about, but it is monumentally important. So
it's kind of like honestly, I think it's kind of like your health. When you're young, you don't even think about it. It's like you just assume you're always going to be healthy. You never have to worry about it. As you get into maybe your 40s and 50s, maybe you've got health problems, friends, family members, your own age, health problems, people are dying. You start really thinking a lot more about your health. I think when you're young, when you're like 25, you're like, retirement, whatever. I'll figure it out. You're 40, like, you start going, man, all my friends have all this money saved. Maybe I should start looking into it.
But just like your health, you don't want to wait until you're in your 40s or in your 50s and maybe even seeing some issues. The time to worry about it was in your 20s and lay the foundation for it. Problem is, talking to somebody in their 20s, you might have an uphill battle on your hands.
Yeah, sure.
But for anybody watching, smartest thing you could do with anything in life, start young.
Yeah, I mean, I hated putting. I'll talk to the youngsters' face directly right now. When Janet started saying you got to set this amount of money aside, I was like, no, I want to spend it on this and that and that. I don't want to save money for when I'm old. That's stupid. And now I'm like, thank God we started saving young, because otherwise I could be like this brother of mine.
And all those other things you could have spent money on, they don't matter.
So I want to wrap it up with a retrospective of your bodybuilding career for those young whippersnappers out there who don't know how great you really were. But first, I want to give you a stat. I don't know if you realize this, but you and Dorian Yates had an eerie parallel in a few ways. So check it out. Dorian turned pro in 1988, took 1989 off to improve, comes back in 1990, and he competed for 7 or 8 seasons. That's exactly what you did. You won the Nationals in 07, took 08 off, 2009 was your first year, and you had 8 pro seasons. So after that, the parallels sort of evaporate. But I thought that was interesting because
I didn't win any Olympias.
Well, let's see. You did win 3 pro shows. 2009 New York Pro, your pro debut. It's not an easy show to win. I like that look a lot, man. That was your first.
That was a good look.
That was a great look. 2011 Flex Pro, also a good look for you. You don't win a pro show looking bad, guys. 2013 Tampa Pro. You only did 2 Olympias. I'm sorry. So Olympia, you did get top 8. 2012, you were 8th. 2013, 13th, but the Arnold Classic is where you really shined. You had some great Arnold years. 2011, 4th place. 2012, 3rd behind Branch Warren and Dennis Wolf. 2014, 5th. 2015, 5th. In 2016, your last year, 8th. So you had 4 top 5 showings at the Arnold and as high as 3rd. So you're never going to compete again. That's behind you now. But when you look back, do you feel like I accomplished everything I wanted to, or say, I wish I won an Arnold, or you just passed all that now?
You're talking to a kid who was a former fat kid who didn't even want to take his shirt off at a pool party. So to have ended up on the cover of a magazine, let alone several, or get on stage in a pair of posing trunks and win a physique contest, I would say I achieved more than I ever would have expected to. And I never set out to turn pro or to make a career out of bodybuilding, but bodybuilding was something I was extremely passionate about, and to have it develop into a career and something I was able to make money from and see the world traveling through bodybuilding and meet all sorts of people. And it's I think far more than I ever could have expected or asked for, to be honest.
I mean, it's not just the physique. You became very, very popular. You still have a really big following. 8 years after you left the stage, you're still relevant in a sport where most of the top social media, like Sullick's 22, the Trend Twins, I think they're like 21. It's a young kid's game now. So for someone you must be like 40 by now.
42.
42. So for you to still be relevant and have fans, I mean, that speaks to the fact that it's not just the physique, it's the personality, the videos, the down to earth, the cooking, all that stuff. I mean, people can really relate to you because you never took yourself too seriously. You always wanted to share the information with people, especially nutrition, because that's like the one aspect that a lot of guys are like, I'm not going to bother with that. That's boring. People just want to see me lifting heavy shit. You know, you took the time and made, and those are actually, I remember when you were with MD doing videos, those were the most viewed videos. Those the cooking videos, the food prep stuff. Because
even to this day, that's really the content. I mean, look, there's the odds of you being a Ronnie Coleman in the gym are very slim. So the kitchen was definitely where I shined. And again, I'm a fat kid at heart. I love food.
Yeah.
And there's so many things I've found over the years that either make food more palatable or make the process more efficient. And I don't know. I assume that it's that way for everybody, but maybe not. But when you figure something out that you say, "Oh, geez, this helped me a lot. Let me share this because maybe it could help somebody else." That was always kind of my natural instinct, and I probably should do more of it. I'll be honest. Days go by, and you know how it is. Life is busy, and if I was working professionally as a social media influencer, well, I'm sure I could put a lot more into it. But
I mean, you do a good amount of content, considering the fact that you got a real job, quote unquote real job. You got two kids now and everything. I remember it's been almost 20 years ago that not Ron Norman, Ron Rich, another friend of yours named Ron, sent me pictures. I think you had just won Atlantic States. Was that your first show?
2005. Yep.
2005. So yeah, we're almost 20 years ago. He says, this kid's going to be great. And I was like, yeah, Jesus, look at this guy. And, you know, here we are today. You already had won nationals and had this awesome pro career. So he was right. Ron Rich, wherever you are, you had that one, man. That's it.
Big thank you to Ron. I don't know if I ever would have had the career I had, if I ever would have even entered the arena, had it not been for his guidance and his urging and him telling me, yeah, man, you should do this.
Yeah, I found that it's a lot of times the people with the best potential never see it in themselves. It takes someone else to see it. Whereas, you know, you go to a local show and there's a lot of people I don't want to say no business being up on stage. We want the shows to have a lot of competitors and everything, but you know they're just not. They weren't really meant to do this. It's the people, those rare people like you that, you know, God touched and said, you're meant to do this. It's crazy how those people often they don't see it in themselves. They don't see, wow, I look so great. They just think, I just like to lift weights. And then someone comes along and says, dude, you got to compete. You're going to be awesome. And that was you. Yeah.
So, that was the story.
Yeah. So, man, it's been so good catching up, Evan. Appreciate you doing this on the new channel, Ron Harris Muscle. Trying to do my thing here. And I appreciate your help so much, man.
I appreciate you having me. It was great to catch up. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for doing it. And everyone, thanks for watching. This guy's a legend. I love him. He's one of the best people in the sport I ever knew. And I'm so glad he's still healthy, happy, and living a great life after bodybuilding. Evan Centopani. All right, everyone.
Much appreciated.
Thanks for watching Ronline Report. See you next time.